starts a whole new fight.
Yes.
Like, well, I don't feel heard. You're always dismissing my feelings. And then now you're fighting about something else instead of just listen to her, be patient with her, because once she feels hurt, she's gonna move on.
I would say feelings are indicators, but they're not dictators. And so when a spouse feels like they're done, but the other is not done, that in and of itself creates a tension. All right, well, welcome everybody to Paul and Fiona, LoveLife. So glad you are here with us. We are continuing on a series, but it's not really a series. We taught a message and simply didn't finish.
Right.
And so what we promised to do is come on the podcast and share with you the continuation of some of the things that we started. And so, Fiona, why don't you go ahead and say hello since I took all the introduction.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Love Life with Paul and Fiona. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to like this, to share this, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put out content.
And comments.
And comments.
We love the
yes,
feedback.
Yes, absolutely.
Let us know when something is resonating, something connects. It's very helpful. All right.
Certainly, if you have any questions, any topics you want us to touch on, please do let us know in the comment section.
Yes. So let's just dive in.
Let's go for it.
Jump in with both feet here. What we're talking about is to catch a thief. And the scripture that we took was in John 10:10. The thief doesn't come for anything but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And I think what was really eye-opening for me, the devil has a mission statement. There's a kingdom mission statement. Jesus comes with a mission statement, but also the enemy has a mission statement. And for many couples who are not focused, we're up against an adversary that is very focused in destroying what God creates. God created marriage. God put the first man and first woman together. And Jesus refers to what God did in the beginning, what God has joined together. Let no man put us under. And God made man and woman in his image for them to be fruitful, multiply, to reflect his image.
Right.
And so the enemy, what he does is he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that is, I think, a sequence as well. So the first thing that he does in order to bring ultimate destruction, and I consider destruction is when the generation is affected,
Right.
where children and grandchildren, the chaos that we see in the community, and you wonder, okay, what's wrong with these kids? Well, somewhere way back, there was a grandfather who didn't know how to love his wife and was a Rolling Stone.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And the outcome of that is mass destruction. I think Malachi even talks about that, where he says, unless I turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, the earth is going to be affected, destroyed by the curse. So marriage is really a big deal. Our marriage,
Right.
your marriage, is a big deal. It's such a big deal that the enemy has a strategic plan to break marriages apart.
Yeah, and this plan has not changed. From generation to generation, the plan has been the same. But what happens is, as you said early on, couples are not really aware and thinking about this, and not knowing that the enemy is going about like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour,
Yes.
who he may steal from, kill, and eventually destroy. So we certainly gave a good foundation of it too in the previous podcast. So encourage you, make sure you go watch it, and we tell the story of kind of how this whole teaching came about, because we live out those things that we are talking about.
We're not making stuff and pulling it out of the sky or reading in a book. It would be so much easier if we just would get our teaching inspired from a book, so it could be nice and clean and neat. But
Yeah.
it seems like God has a way of allowing us to go through the rough experiences, and we sometimes learn stuff the hard way.
Right. And you know, interestingly too, our books, the books that we have written,
Yeah.
they're really coming out of our own experiences. So we talk about ourselves, the lessons that we have learned, because we believe just being open, transparent, so you can learn from our foolishness. And so, yeah, this is kind of how this came about.
And see, I think there's a principle there that there's nothing wasted. We're reminded when Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes, and he says, gather it all. And the enemy, he comes to steal and to kill and destroy. Sometimes he's stealing the 12 fragments that are left over. And there are experiences, things that we've learned, and when those things are wasted, we don't grow from our past mistakes, from things that we learn the hard way, and we have to be careful that we don't forget, because that's one of the ways he steals. When we forget about it and we don't learn lessons and we don't grow, and we get into a cycle where we're repeating the same things over and over. That's also a part of his way and plan of stealing. So
yeah.
we go through some stuff,
Yeah.
but it's important that we learn and we get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's certainly our scripture is John 10:10. You know, the thief comes but to steal, kill, and to destroy. But Jesus came that we might have life, and that more abundantly. So we know we started talking in the last segment about the ways that the enemy steals. You know,
Yeah.
we kind of gave again the introduction that a good thief,
Yeah.
when a thief steals, you're not going to know. A good thief,
Yeah.
you're not going to know when he steals.
Most of the thieves we're used to are the pedestrian thieves.
Right.
The ones that are simple, the ones that are stupid, the ones that get caught on camera, the ones that, don't even recognize when they go into the store to steal that there's a camera that's watching them.
Yeah, right. They think they're coming up with something new, like nobody's ever tried this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a pedestrian thief.
Yes.
But
No
the
skill set.
No, none. Yeah.
Now, when the enemy is called a thief, that means he's the prince, the king, the master of thieves. A good thief doesn't get caught. A good thief will.
Or when you do realize that you've been robbed, it's kind of too late.
Yeah, he's long gone.
He's long gone, right?
Yeah, I think like that movie Ocean's 11.
Right. By the time they realize.
Yeah, they stole millions of dollars. They're way out of here, and that's how the enemy works.
Right.
When he's done, we're sitting in the ashes of a relationship and wondering, what went wrong? How did we get here? How did this happen?
And that's the enemy really plunders, and
Yes.
leaves you, bewildered. Like you said, like what really happened here?
Yeah.
He leaves you almost like dazed. By the time you come to, he's long gone, and you realize this relationship is no longer what it was. So we talked about the hit and run.
Yes.
But of course, again, go back and listen to the story, to the podcast before, because we might not get into it. But there was.
Quick summary is there was a situation where I found myself at about an 8 emotionally. Wasn't at 10. I was about an 8.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's my story.
You sound like a 9, 10.
Whatever I say is accurate.
Okay.
So I was about 8, and then you came and you reminded me of some things, or you said some things, gave me your opinion about some things that I was dealing with that were all a part of my being at an 8. It was an intense week for me, and I'm at an 8. After I spoke to you, you reminded me of some things, and I got to 9. And then you reminded me again, because based on my responses, it didn't seem like I was really paying attention or hearing you. And then the way you described it was that I roared. So when I got to 10, there was I'm out of numbers, no place for me to go. So
Somehow you found 15.
no, it was a 10. It was a very slight roar.
You see.
With a lion, you see, The lion can be gentle at times, but sometimes the lion roars.
This can be a whole discussion because when couples are in a relationship, they have different perspectives as to what happened. So this is kind of one of those situations, but we're going to save that one for another discussion.
Yes.
But it felt like a 15 to me. You said it was a 10.
Yeah, there's no numbers 10. That's it.
Somewhere between 10 and 15.
There's no 15. Okay. It's 10 because we got to have a stop.
You found 15. You really found 15.
It's only 1 through 10.
Anyway.
Where were you?
You were at 15, and then you roared at me, and then you left to go work out, and then you came back, and then you apologized.
I apologized.
And then we went to bed.
Very sincere, heartfelt apology.
It was very sincere.
Because I should have the fruit of the Spirit, and I should not allow reminding to take me from an 8 to a 10.
After all, that's my job to remind.
I should be able to regulate, right. And I know that. And I think that's part of the quick apology. Mm-hmm. I think that was also a part of the skills that we've developed over time to recognize and own when we were out of character so that things don't continue to escalate. It's subtle, but something has been lost. Mm-hmm. Simply because we didn't go back and really address it, deal with it, and grow from that experience. And that's when we talk about nothing being wasted. That experience to learn has been wasted. And so the enemy has robbed us. There's a hit, impact, and continuing to go on. But it's so subtle we don't realize in the relationship that there's something that is missing. And over time, when we need to be able to make withdrawals, and the reason why we're able to apologize and recover is because there's been some reserves, there's been funds, there's been investments over the years that we're able to draw from, and we need that for healing.
Right. And really, I guess sticking with the same point of the hit and run, what happened with us, there was an apology, right? And an apology rendered, it was received. And for some couples, you think, okay, well, I apologized, why do we need to keep talking about it? The reason why you need to keep talking about it, why you need to come back to it again, is just so that you can learn from it.
I think what's important is that even in these times of recovery, sometimes I can have an expectation for you to recover at the same speed as I do, because I don't need a lot of words. I'm sorry, this would happen. And in my mind, I want to move on. But for nothing to be wasted, we have to come to that place of agreement. And going back to those issues and processing and dealing with them, it's not something that we always feel like doing, or we certainly don't feel like doing it at the pace of our spouse, especially when we feel, I'm done with this.
Right. And we really see this come into play when you think about differences between men and women.
Yeah.
For women, we process things by talking about them. And sometimes it might take us a little bit longer to get to a place where a man is. But that's where the husband has to be very, very patient with her.
Yes.
Because he can't say, most men be like, well, I apologize. Why would you need to talk about it? It's like, well, she's not quite where you are yet. So give her the space to process.
Yes. And that's why I think the fruit, I don't know what I would do without the fruit of the Holy Spirit.
I don't know how people do it.
Because the fruit of the Spirit helps me to go beyond my feelings. I always say feelings are indicators, but they're not dictators. And so when a spouse feels like they're done, but the other is not done, that in and of itself creates a tension, and it can really bring in additional problems.
Right, so that's a whole new fight.
Yes.
Like, well, I don't feel heard. You're always dismissing my feelings. And then now you're fighting about something else instead of just giving her the space to process, listen to her, be patient with her, and because once she feels heard, she's going to move on.
Yeah, we know that generally, it's not an absolute rule, but generally women will have to talk through stuff.
That's how God created us.
And I wonder if God created men, and this is scary, I can't even believe I'm saying this. Did God create men to listen? Because we don't have as much
yeah.
words as a woman. I always say that a man can't win an argument with a woman because even if he wins, she still's got something to say. Because she just has more words. They talk through, and that's how, in general, women process. So I wonder if God gives us the capacity to listen and be okay with listening.
Or at least grow in that capacity to listen.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, so certainly when it's coming to these issues, an apology is great. But you got to talk through it, and you got to give each other the space to talk about those things.
There's an apology, and then there's processing so that the relationship can grow.
Right.
And that's how we prevent the enemy from taking away, because he does a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. This event, next to that one, and it builds up to something else that happens. And before we know it, our resources to recover are depleted. When someone's immune system is not working, a sniffle will kill them.
Right.
And we run into marriages and say, oh, I'm done. I can't take any more. I've been putting up with this for 17 years, whatever. How do they get to that point? Little by little.
Right.
And I think it's important to just be cognizant, be aware. Take inventory of your marriage. Have we lost anything? Check your pockets.
Right.
Is anything missing?
Right. Yeah. And really, that's really the purpose of this podcast. We want couples to really, do inventory. Because some things might have been left.
Yep. You might have been jacked.
Right.
And not even realize it. You got robbed. You got took. So
Yeah.
it's so important to stop, process, take inventory, make sure everything's there. How's the trust jar? Is it full? Do we have resources to handle disagreements? Or is the relationship now in a very tense place, eggshells, and that's a result of the enemy slowly taken away?
Wow. I mean, this whole walking on eggshells, unfortunately, it happens in relationships.
Yeah.
When there's been a hit and we've kind of continued on and we really haven't processes, the one spouse becomes afraid to express their feelings, becomes afraid to, talk about the difficult topics, because they might feel like I'm going to make this one explode. Now, in marriage, where you're walking on eggshells is not a healthy relationship, but just a way that the enemy has stolen.
You know what just came to me as you're talking? The power of stopping. The hit and run is where you keep on moving.
Right.
But there in a marriage, there is power in just stopping, where we're not going to be on the go. We're just going to press pause. We're going to prioritize this relationship, and we're going to put the value in what God has given us, enough for us to stop. I mean, what do parents do if they're in a store and they have their child and all of a sudden the child is missing? That parent is going to stop everything. It's like, oh no, well, we got to hurry up, we got to keep going.
Yeah.
You stop because our child is missing.
Right.
Stop everything, lock the doors, no one come or going, get the speaker, get the intercom. We got to find this child because this child is precious to us. Well,
That's right.
there could be things that if we deem our relationship as precious, is it worth stopping everything and saying, okay, we're going to take inventory. Where is it? When did we lose it? What's the difference? It takes time.
Right. And I think that kind of leads us into the next way that enemy steals is missed opportunities. Because when there's hit and run and you don't take the time, you don't take time to stop and really process what happened, that's a missed opportunity to grow, to learn more about yourself, to learn more about your spouse, and to figure out what you're going to do differently. So the enemy comes with missed opportunities.
One of the most sinister tactics of the enemy to steal in relationship is the opportunity cost. That's like when a woman aborts her baby and you don't know who that baby is. Where you don't capture the benefits of something that is alive and flowing. The marketplace is exploding. And if you knew back in 1990, whatever Google was started, I don't know, it was probably starting about much later than that, but if you knew at the time and you invested, you'd be set. I remember when we first got married, I wasn't anything multi-level marketing. I was trying to do it and never got rich over multi-level marketing, but they would present these opportunities and a lot of it was just empty. But I remember there was some type of program where you can buy stuff off the internet. And I heard about this company called Amazon at that time. That this was just, and this is when Jeff Bezos was in some kind of basement and just didn't know that that was a thing. And so heard about it, blew it off. So that is something in the financial market. In marriage, there are opportunity costs. And it's like you only realize how much you've been robbed by the opportunity in the marriage that you let slip by once it's gone. You don't even mourn the loss because you don't have a picture of what the marriage could have been. But there's still loss because this is something that we were supposed to reap the benefits of, the memories that were never formed, the opportunities to learn and to grow and to bring blessing, never realized. And those are the opportunity costs, and sometimes they are the most expensive.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what we see in marriages is, couples that have children, they put a lot in parenting the children, which is great. It's a good thing, putting all we can into our children because, at 18, they go off to college and then kind of life is different from then on. So these things are important, investing in our children. But then if we don't know how to prioritize things, and we invest in a lot in them, all our attention, all our discussions, all our talks are about children. When those beloved little beings grow up and leave, you're hearing more and more about empty nester divorces. It's because we missed out on opportunities to invest in our relationship, to continue to put relationship deposits in our relationship while we are raising children as well. So
the dates
to grow apart.
The dates that we neglected to go on, the vacations just together, that we said, it's no big deal. It is a big deal.
Yeah.
And seasons are not forever. Seasons are for a moment. And every season has an opportunity. And what we do with the opportunity that the season presents is going to determine our experience in the next season.
Right.
So the seeds that we're sowing right now, these seeds are determining our experience as empty nesters.
Right. Yeah. And even where we are, we've had these discussions to be careful that the ministry life doesn't swallow up, our marriage. So we have to be even more intentional about making these relationship deposits because the enemy can be using a good thing, but stealing away, siphoning funds out of our account.
I think there's a good scriptural example where Jesus tells Martha in Luke chapter 10, Martha, Martha, you're worried about many things and you're missing out on what's most important. So I think sometimes we have to stop and see what opportunities are out there. What opportunities are there right now in our marriage? If this thing is so important, if this thing is so valuable, is there anything that is there before us that we might be missing out on?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be big things. Something as simple as one spouse saying to the other, hey, let's go for a walk. Don't look at that like, oh my goodness, why does he or she want me to go for a walk? I could be doing other things that are more important. That's really an opportunity for you to connect. Hey, let's run to the store together. Or these small things that seem really minuscule and seem unimportant are really
those are the best stuff.
Yeah. It's the small things, really.
It's those insignificant moments, those times where just together doing nothing seemingly important, but we're together and we don't even realize that there's a bond that's taking place. There is a unity, there's an agreement that we make withdrawals on, even in different moments in life. Those are the things that I believe are the stuff that keep our relationship together and intact.
Right. I think even listening to your mom since Dad's death, how she's valuing not the big trips that went on necessarily, but just him taking her to Costco, going to the post office together, going to Walgreens together, doing simple things. Those are the things that kind of she looks back on, with the level of satisfaction that, she did it even sometimes when she didn't always feel like doing it. But when she looks back, it's not the big things, it's the small things that, there's opportunities that she took advantage of. So let's not minimize or invalidate, so this is not that important. Take advantage of every situation, of every opportunity, rather, that's presented before you. So I don't think we're going to get through this series today. We're going to have to catch up in the next segment.
But one thing I like about these moments and these opportunities, even with the fights, even with the conflict, everything has an opportunity in it.
It does.
And there is nothing wasted. Remember what Jesus told the disciples after he multiplied the loaves and the fishes? He says, gather all the fragments that nothing is wasted. And the time that we spend together, the laughters, watching movies together or listening to music or just the spontaneous, nothing is wasted. And God is able to use all that stuff to draw us closer to each other and draw us closer to himself.
Right.
So that's the beauty. We can't let the enemy steal those opportunities by our not investing.
And missing this great opportunity. So we encourage you to certainly do an inventory of your marriage. We're going to continue this in the next podcast. We hope this is...
And make an investment. Your marriage, your relationship, you're worth it. I mean, you're worth it. Your marriage is quality to invest in. It's good ground to make an investment, and it's going to bring massive dividends. All right?
Yeah, make sure that you're liking this and sharing it, of course, following and subscribing, and make sure you comment in the comment section as well. But until next time, God bless.